Hello everyone, 1-2 Wrestling News crew. It's Jack and Sam from Cultaholic.com here with a Tuesday afternoon news update. Sam, we've got lots of interesting news to talk about.
We do, lovely news.
Interesting. Right, let's take a look at all of those juicy headlines. First of all, it seems as though Kurt Angle's potential opponent for WrestleMania 35 has dropped a very interesting hint. Next up, we have an update on Dean Ambrose's contract status in the aftermath of Fastlane and Monday Night Raw. And finally, Jim Johnston, the man behind many of WWE's most beloved theme tunes, has expressed a certain interest in All Elite Wrestling. So first and foremost, Sam, last night on Raw, Kurt Angle announced that he will be retiring at WrestleMania. That'll be his last match forever.
Unless he goes back to Impact.
Well, I think this will be his last one. Yes, he said that will be his last match, but no opponent was announced. But a certain cheeky boy on the internet has dropped a little hint on his Instagram by the name of Johnny Cena.
What was that? Was that like I called this?
Yes, you
days
did.
Ago,
ages
weeks
ago. You fair play.
I called it.
It does make sense from what you were saying, like the whole back to where it all began,
full circle,
ruthless aggression, because Cena was the guy who came out and slapped him.
He was full of ruthless aggression and he lost.
Yes, he did. But he was a rookie though. It was an interesting little storyline, and it would be nice to see that all come back full circle. The reason that we're saying it's going to be Cena potentially is because on Cena's Instagram he posted a picture of a young Kurt Angle with his amateur wrestling headgear on and stuff. But
the only problem is Cena is a notorious troll.
He's a bit of a cheeky boy on Instagram. His entire Instagram page is just out of context pictures with no caption.
Yeah.
Just leave it up to yourself to determine what it means. But sometimes there is a bit of truth to them as well.
Yeah.
And honestly, the other thing that makes me think this is true is that I can't think of anyone better placed to wrestle Kurt Angle in his final match.
No, I think it just makes perfect sense. It's like how I really want Undertaker to retire at a Survivor Series. I really want Kurt Angle to be retired by John Cena.
Yeah, echoes of how they first came.
Go all full circle. Full circle is the best way to end.
And I think it would also kind of be strange for another person to step in. Like, the only other one I can really think of is Samoa Joe, but he's the US champion right now, and it wouldn't be as,
Yeah, I don't know if they'd want to harken back to... For a retirement match, they'd have to give it somebody, I think, that has a long history with him.
Yeah, Joe does, but in Impact, in a different company.
I don't think they'd want to go back. And they've got a working relationship with them to a degree for the documentary stuff, but I don't think they're going to want to show Impact highlight reels on Raw.
Yeah, so. The other one I thought of, but there's been no storyline indication whatsoever. It's just because of purely the wrestling style.
Yeah.
Chad Gable, but I don't think he's in a position
Chad
at the
Gable
minute.
Or Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan.
That's going to be.
But he's got his own.
He's got his own thing going on. Yeah.
It really does seem as though Cena's the most likely candidate, and we know that he's he's one of those guys like Taker and Triple H who seems to come along for Mania season.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any better opponent for Cena either, really.
No, it would make a really nice little match, wouldn't it? They can work their own pace, they can still entertain the crowd, everybody loves both of them, so it's great. And what happens if John Cena retires in the same match and doesn't tell anybody?
That's
another question.
A double count now, get to the back, that's it. Also, I think if it does happen, we might even see a poignant moment to kind of rival WrestleMania 24, Michaels and Flair. We might see something on that level of because Angle's a very emotional guy in the ring.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool.
I think so. It wouldn't surprise me if we got a lot of people on the ramp for him at Mania itself rather than at the Raw as well. Because the Raw, it'll happen.
It's a ceremony.
Big Flair send-off. But I think it would be a really nice moment if we got the full roster out on the ramp.
I agree. Next up, let's talk about Dean Ambrose, because on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said he checked with his sources, I think late last night or the night before, around this sort of weekend of kind of Fastlane and Raw and everything. And apparently they have reassured him that Ambrose still very much is leaving, but would they be honest about that?
Look, I was spot on with the John Cena Kurt Angle thing. I'm telling you, he's going to re-sign the day after Mania.
There's three.
If it's even true, why are sources inside going to tell? It's going to be one of those big. I think if he does stay, one of those big surprise storylines. And maybe he's going to go away for a few weeks and come back, or I don't know. Maybe he just needs time to rest up. It could be anything.
At first, because for me, there's three possible things. It's either a total shoot and he is leaving, it's a total work and he's staying, or it started off as a shoot but he's been convinced to re-sign somewhere along the line.
Yeah, that's one of the things that happens a lot in wrestling is that shoots are very quickly turned into work.
Right,
so.
and I think that the sort of various things happened this weekend and on Monday that have backed up either one. It's not really too decisive either way, because you've got, for example, the overhyping of the commentators saying Ambrose is definitely leaving during the main event of Fastlane, which makes me think the opposite, and he's not. But the moment with the Shield in the ring afterwards, they look genuinely like quite emotional.
But
like
then you also had
thing.
Seth really dialing it in with one last MF in time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's just dialing it in, innit? He's not leaving. But at the same time, as I've said before, he could be leaving, and they could just be really, really badly trying to push the fact that it's his last match at Mania, and there'll be all these Dean Ambrose t-shirts and all this stuff for his last ever match, and make the big merch money.
People have even been speculating that the main event of Raw last night was one of Ambrose's final actions in WWE, because he lost to Drew McIntyre in decisive fashion. It wasn't as like short as his other matches recently on Raw have been. It was a wild Falls Count Anywhere brawl. They went behind, like, into the concession area, came back down. They got on the announce table. Drew stabbed him with a pencil. And then he put his head like through a railing next to a set of stairs.
I saw that, and he
Claymored his head.
him,
and it looked very climactic and final.
Can I just ask one thing though? When they went out to concessions, were there loads of fans there?
There were some fans.
Because whenever it was like the 90s, there'd always be like hundreds of fans. There was definitely a stagehand going, "Come on, get out, block said, get out, come on, in the foyer."
It's hard to tell because that all happened during a commercial break, and they kind of showed a few replays during the match. But yeah, the Ambrose thing's been really hard to nail down. I reckon they want to keep him definitely because he's a huge star.
Yeah, he's going to make a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
And if the Shield are going to reunite, it's always. I mean, the Shield are licensed to print money. Yeah. Especially now that Roman Reigns is fighting fit and he's on the road to recovery. And like, I can see it going either way, but at the same time, mentally for me, he's staying and we're all being worked.
I think so too, but this Meltzer story has thrown it into a little bit of doubt. We'll have further updates, if any, emerge in the next few weeks. Next up, let's talk about Jim Johnston, everyone's favourite music man in wrestling. Everyone 100%. Loves Jim Johnston. Yeah. He's done so many...
Sounds of our childhood.
Yes, Austin's theme. Yeah. I think Undertaker's funeral march thing. He kind of arranged
pretty much every theme.
The Rock's theme. Yeah. Orton. DX. He's composed so many iconic songs that have just defined WWE over the years. But of course, he left recently to the horror of many. Everyone was like, "Not Jim."
Well, it was interesting how he spoke about it in the interview, because he talked about how he went to Vince directly because he was sick of not doing anything.
Yes,
they'd used him less and less. And he was getting antsy. He's sitting at home, still getting paid. Like, he's still salaried, still making money. But he just apparently went to Vince and he's like, "That's not the type of person I am. Are you going to use me? Use me. If not, fire me. I'm making it really easy for you. Just fire me."
And that's what happened. He got let go. Now, he was doing an interview recently on a podcast affiliated, I believe, with MLW, where he was asked if he'd be interested in speaking with Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes about writing music for All Elite Wrestling. And he replied, "Absolutely, give me a call."
Wow.
Well, that would be huge for assuming he still got it. But, I mean, that sort of talent doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. And imagine all the themes, like "Here Comes the Cody Rhodes." Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, though, he elaborated that he doesn't follow pro wrestling closely anymore. He was at StarCast, and he has picked up the buzz that All Elite's been creating.
Well, this is it. Like, he sort of knows-ish what All Elite Wrestling is, and he was there for All In.
Yeah.
But he just didn't seem to connect the fact that StarCast was linked to All In. It just didn't seem like he put the two together.
A few more interesting things he said as well. He believes that WWE is currently vulnerable and is in a position of potential weakness right now, and seems to think that All Elite does have a shot at competing with WWE.
But you know where all of this is coming from? CFO $.
Oh, CFOS.
Yeah, CFOS are the reason WWE is on its arse, according to Jim Johnston.
Is it? Have you just made that up?
What?
Okay. I thought they were shooting on Jim Johnston there for a second. Okay, well, that's a relief. And finally, WWE have officially announced the latest inductees into this year's Hall of Fame. It's Booker T and Stevie Ray, better known collectively as Harlem Heat from WCW.
Big part of my childhood.
Great lads. Yeah. By the time I was into it, Booker T was more of a single star, so I never really lived through the Harlem Heat.
Yeah, I used to have both figures, and I can't find Stevie Ray. I don't know where he is. It sort of echoes Adam's "What Happened to That Wrestler" song. Stevie Ray's mentioned.
They were pretty much one of the biggest tag teams in WCW history.
In possibly wrestling history.
Maybe.
If you look at the titles that
they
held. So.
10 time.
Yeah.
Booker's always bragging about 5 time.
Yeah,
10 time tag team champion alongside Stevie Ray. I did some research. The only teams close to them were joint on 7 reigns each, which was the Minnesota Wrecking Crew and the Steiner Brothers.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of very much, I think, a story of like they started off in Texas where they were working on the local independent scene and stuff. Got signed to WCW. Booker T was the Michaels of the group. He got launched to single stardom.
Yeah, and they both overcame hardships to get to where they are as well. They worked so bloody hard.
They were managed by the legendary Sherry Martel as well, herself a Hall of Famer. Booker T's already a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a 2-time Hall of Famer as well.
Two-time. He's not going to let us forget it.
Commentary were joking during the announcement about can we get Booker T in as GI Bro and stuff to make him a 5-time Hall of Famer. But we were talking just before off camera about who could possibly induct them. You were thinking Bischoff?
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense for me for it to be Bischoff. It would be great if we could have had Sherry Martel, but unfortunately we can't anymore. So I think Eric Bischoff was integral to their careers for such a long time that I think it would make sense. He probably has some great stories to tell. He's probably got some really good memories that he wants to share with us about them. So I think personally Bischoff would work. What about you?
I think you're probably right as well. Bischoff seems like the most likely candidate. The only other one I can think of would be Mark Henry, just because he's another legendary Texan in wrestling, but he was very much on the other side of the divide during the 90s. So I think Bischoff's probably the better shout, if not another figure from WCW around that time. I just can't really think who else. Probably not Russo.
Huge Erection.
Yes, General Huge Erection.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's itching to come back to WWE.
Or Major Guns.
Major Guns.
I hope it's Bischoff now. I really
hope it's Bischoff.
He can do a good speech as well.
Yeah, Bischoff's great.
That'll be great. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.